because the state hadn't made a decision yet, and there was no additional district assistance or free and reduced monies. So I expect that when we turn around and do the first revision before September 15th, that $375,000 will disappear and will be close to where we were last year, if not a little bit above.
Okay. And is that it then?
That's it, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Does anybody have any other questions?
I did. Hang on a minute, I gotta find it.
It'll click to 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I may be a little ignorant here, but why are we decreased 2.3%?
Was that in just one of the line items? So
As maintenance and operation, the increase on the third page.
right, so what that is we go in each year and we put in by line item the budget that we have. And because we were less 375,000 so far this year, I didn't want to take it from instruction. So we look at where we can cut, and that was some of the maintenance and operation funds. And when we do get the money back on the revised budget, that will probably go up to close to zero.
Okay.
It'll go back, right? It'll go back.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Excuse me, Mrs. Bounds, but I need to get Mrs. Olinsky back on the phone.
Oh, okay. We'll wait then.
Hello? Can you hear us? Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, now we're going to call this meeting to order. And we're gonna have the Pledge of Allegiance. And I guess that'll be done by us. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, Miss Winters, do we have call to the public?
Yes, President Valenzuela, we have Ms. Becky Barwas here who has submitted a request to speak.
Okay, but let me explain. Anyone interested in making a call to the public for this meeting is asked to complete a call, which you have done, and that you understand that we are not able to respond. We can just listen. Okay, all right.
Is it okay if I sit by August? Good evening. I'm Becky Beerwas. This is my son, August. A bright and sensitive little boy who deserves the chance to learn, grow, and thrive. Public speaking terrifies me, and my own disabilities often hold me back, but watching August be denied opportunity year after year outweighs my fear. I wanted to use this opportunity this evening to formally introduce myself and my son, as I have only ever crossed your desk electronically in email these last few weeks. In November 2023, after he had already completed physical therapy, speech, and occupational therapy, in early intervention and was in his 3rd school placement, still struggling with very selective communication, transitions, and being harmed by peers, I went to COCSD with concerns of autism and asked for an evaluation. August was observed and I was given a PWN stating he was fine. He continued to greatly struggle and be soft expelled through his 4th placement, and on March 17th, 2025, he was discriminatorily and unethically expelled from his 5th program after only 17 days. The very next day, March 18th, 2025, the pre-K program called CPS on me, citing my support for him at home was inappropriate and unnecessary as he was not autistic. This little boy is not even 5 years old. He has severe anxiety, is terrified of being hurt by his peers, does not do well with new people, and deeply struggles social and emotionally away from me, his co-regulator. Even still, he has persevered through 5 new programs. This brave boy has continued to trust me as I have tried to find a program that can support him and give him a chance to learn. Years I have been fighting for him, advocating for him, teaching him, supporting him. He keeps showing up. Don't we owe it to him to show up for him now? Since then, I've juggled full-time graduate studies in clinical mental health and single parenting a high-needs child on a limited budget, driving him to clinicians, researching tirelessly, and gathering comprehensive data to secure the support he so desperately deserves and needs. I have endured countless clinician visits, paperwork, in-depth medical documentation, multiple CPS calls from clinicians and schools, and I've been blamed for his deficits, told I'm creating a bubble around him and I am unable or unwilling to control his behavior. I am here now, sitting before you all, saying, please see us. Please hear us. I am not the problem and neither is my son. We both have disabilities and we just need support. Won't you please help us? Superintendent Jennifer Voca, I implore you to accept and fully consider August's evaluation, convene his eligibility meeting without another day's delay, and ensure he gets access to education as soon as possible with the supports he's been denied for years. Every day you delay, August loses more hope. Tonight, please give him the chance to learn, grow, and breathe without fear. I'm terrified up here, but nothing scares me more than my son's future slipping away. You have the power to end the waiting. Please use it. Silence and delays have failed for August too long. Your action can finally help us step into his future. Thank you so much for your time this evening and allowing us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. I'm just pleading to you as a
That
mother
is your time.
to my
Thank
child.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to number 204. If this is an action item to approval of the consent agenda items.
I move.
Yeah. I'd like to please ask to pull item 6.03.
Okay. All right. There's a mistake. Okay. So we'll go ahead and pull that, and then, okay, now, with that pulled, do I have a?
I will make the motion that we approve the action agenda items.
Except for, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then we're gonna go on to Neil. Okay, we're going to go on to 207, Superintendent's Report. Oh, I forgot. I clicked off the voting, Trish, I'm sorry.
So we have two things for you this evening. The first thing is that almost 100% of our school administration went through the Trust Leadership Academy and Flagstaff in the month of June. It's about 2.5 days, and Ms. Amato also went as well. In those 2.5 days, they go with lawyers attending and other administration around the state. They're giving scenarios on legislation that has come through, maybe even if districts were found liable for any liability. So it covers a district which I think Ms. Amato called it accurately, a dumpster fire district, where about anything that can happen happened. And they are actually true events in the state of Arizona. But it follows a high school and elementary, special education, all of those things. And all of that poor superintendent, I tell you, they have some work to do with hiring staff and overseeing staff. And it's very informative. And they do it in such a way that it's interactive. And I believe, did you guys do like a presentation at the end, or what was like the culminating activity?
It was, they taught us from the from the first, you're here as a superintendent. So we're throwing all this at you, giving you the scenario, and then you have to, start to think like a superintendent and consider all of the avenues. What do we want to do? What do we have to do? So we want to take corrective measures to, obviously prevent everything and anything from happening, which is difficult, but then also what we have to do is governed by policy and sometimes the law. So it was incredible because there was everything ranging from hazing incidents to even an at-will employee whereby they may have been justification, but no documentation for a release. So you may be able to, remove somebody or terminate somebody, but you could be opening yourself up for an OCR or EEOC complaint in the absence of proper, not having enough documentation. So it was fantastic, but we did have to present. Of course, they picked me to be the HR person for the superintendent on behalf of the district, and we were supposed to present to the board with all the things that have happened, how are we gonna go about making change and what our plan was. So we had to execute, provide them a plan with how we were gonna execute within the next year to turn it all around. But it was fantastic, extremely eye-opening.
Yes.
But and not far after. From my experience this past year, what I've gained so far, this is so. It happens. All of these things have happened, and nothing was shocking. Everything was like, these are things that I've heard about even through ASPA and how to handle it. But they really gave us such an in-depth understanding.
Who got to attend, Jess?
We had the principal and vice principal at DDB, the principal at MVP, principal at OCS, Daniel Maldonado, Barb Amato,
It was 7 of us.
and Amy Romero. The only two that weren't able to attend are Heather Wecker and Erin Luckington from CCS, but they will attend in October.
Okay,
So
good.
we've already made arrangements for them, but it is extremely eye-opening. I remember going to that with Tricia Winters and actually Heather Wacker. After my first year as principal, and my eyes were like, wow, I'm going to change really how I do things.
Yeah.
So
And it's good that many of you can bounce off of each other then. You can talk to each other and see what's going on.
yeah, it's nice
that
to
was-
send a group.
It is.
That's what was nice about it, because it's like, remember when we heard this or learned that? And it was just nice as a collective to be there and, really, really prepared you well for, the.
And after every scenario, and the lawyers that are up there, actually, one of them, it's our lawyer and also our special education lawyer. So both lawyers that we work with were up there.
Good.
And they, after a certain scenario, and they work on it as participants and all of that, then you'll have a lawyer come up and talk about either this is your liability or this is what happens. They talk you through it. Or they'll say, like, in 2017, such and such, school district or in the state of Arizona, this is what the outcome was of that. So they get that legal ear as well. It's very, very well done, and they've done it for a very long time. So,
Good.
Yep. And then the second one is there is an attachment for cell phone violation data. Steve King, I guess, came into contact with an organization called Stand Up. Is it right? Stand Up Org or? Yeah, Stand Up for AZ organization, and it's about cell phone use. They advocate for later use. A lot like that wait until 8, which is waiting until 8th grade to give your child a cell phone. They're not developmentally ready prior to that. And so this organization is a lot of the same research, and they were interested in talking about our cell phone policy and how we were able to implement it, and what led up to our implementation. And as you know, there's a new law where cell phones cannot be out during the instructional day, which it was already something that was part of our practice. So Trisha and Ashley were able to collect some data. It's not entirely clear. So working with Ashley, and this is Ashley Schultz in AZEDS, our AZEDS coordinator. So she does everything synergy and student information and reporting. And so we're going to be working with her this next year on data that we can get through Synergy, as far as any sort of discipline data, but even beyond that, exit data, where are students going, why are they going. So it really opened our eyes to how we need to look at things and evaluate our programs and how we move forward with that.
And then we'll probably be looking at changing the cell phone policy.
We just currently did this
Yes, okay,
last
okay.
month or so.
Okay.
Yep. We needed to
Update it.
because of the new law. Yes.
Okay. All right, now we're at 301, the curriculum instruction system. Jamie?
All right, thank you, President Valenzuela.
You're welcome.
This evening, I am going to review with you all the preliminary state assessment data that has been released by the state. The information is not available to the public yet, so Mrs. Winters has given you access to 2 slides that you should see on the side of your agenda right now. The 2 slides that we'll start with are the CNA graph, AASA data spring 2025. Do you see and have access to those 2 slides? All right.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So I can't publicly state the percentages of the scores, but I'm going to give you an overview. So what you're seeing is what we reviewed at the board retreat last year. This is the CNA plot graph that looks at the percentage of achievement for students on the y-axis. It is coming up 0 to 100%, and then it's looking at the free and reduced status on the x-axis. So it's looking at, based on the students free and reduced and their proficiency, we see that regression line that runs down, and the goal is that grade levels, schools, districts are at or above their regression line. And so we remember that Cottonwood Oak Creek School District sits at nearly 70% free and reduced. We're not comparing ourselves to a school district or a school that is 0% free and reduced. The challenges of the students that come to us are going to look different than that of that type of school setting. Doesn't mean that we don't have high expectations, but also at the same time, we understand that there are challenges coming in with our students. And so it's really providing an even playing field for the state to look at realistic proficiency and growth with students. And so as you can see, I have listed on the first slide ELA, the 2025 and 2024 combined 3.8 state data for ELA, and the state made a 2% decline in reading from 24 to 25. Cottonwood Oak Creek School District made a 1% increase from 24 to 25. The state, and actually nationally, are referring to the 24-25 school year as the COVID or ESSER cliff. So actually across the state, you are seeing a decline because there was a lack of funding that was pulled back from ESSER funding, which included additional specialists, supports, after school programs across the state this year when ESSER funding left due to COVID relief funding running out. And so a lot of schools were adjusting this year. Cottonwood Oak Creek planned for that. We did not anticipate a drop, even though we had an ELA adoption in K-6, which sometimes you will historically see across the nation, an implementation dip. We did not see that dip. So we still made a 1% increase, closing the gap on the state. The state's average, as you can see for free and reduced, is closer to 50%. But when you look at where Cottonwood Oak Creek falls on the regression line, we're actually touching the regression line, whereas the state is falling below the regression line. So that is the picture of where we're sitting right now with preliminary data until the state officially releases that. Math, if you go to the second slide, the state saw just under 1% decrease in their math scores. Historically for COCSD, this has been an area of challenge for us. This is why we were very interested in Project Momentum. Our goal with Project Momentum was to increase our math proficiency with our students. And if you look below for COCSD, we made a 4% increase in our math. So that was a great increase for us. When you look at the regression line, you see where the state falls at 50%, and then you see where COCSD this year is in the blue. We are actually closer to the regression line than that of the state average. So Project Momentum was a huge boost to us. We're seeing that paying off. We continue to anticipate that momentum moving us into the future, getting us closer to the regression line. And I will also say at some point I will review with you once the scores are available grade level. We have a lot of success stories across the district with classrooms grade levels that are at or well above the regression line. Once they get up into the white, so you see that light gray just above the regression line, once you get up into the white, we call that rarefied air. And so that means you are beating the odds with the students you serve. You are going above and beyond, and we're seeing great things happening. Those are the classrooms that we are honing in on. What is happening in those classrooms? This is what gets shared in PLCs. How can we take those teacher leaders and share what's happening in their classrooms so that those strategies can be used across the district? So that's the first set of slides. Additionally, I have a second link that is not public release, but I just wanted to show you part of the process on how we plan for these things. The second document that you will see that is not available for the public is the COCSD prediction. So if you will click on that document as well, we never go into state testing hoping that we will have a certain score. We have a prediction, and we know based on statistical data analysis close to where we will fall. And that's going back many years looking at our data over time. But when we get to winter and we test for A reading and A math, our internal benchmark system, that gives us a very clear and accurate picture of where we're going to fall in the spring. And if we do not like where we fall, then we're making adjustments so that we can see that increased achievement by our students into the spring. And so we do this as a district, and then we do this as a campus, and then we also do this teacher by teacher at the campus level so that everyone is clear about this data. If you go to the very bottom of the data where it says average under the reading section, you can see our score last year for AASA combined. I can release that part, 34% last year. If you go to the column that is the third column over, we predicted based on winter that our ELA was going to be 30.3%. That was below our state testing from last year. So we knew that we needed to put some action steps in place to ensure that we did not see a drop in student achievement. And then if you follow it to the final column, you can see where we actually fell. So that to me is a cycle of continuous improvement, action steps that are actually in place and making improvement with student data. If you come down to the math, It does fall onto the second page, so if you go down to that second page and you look at our average math proficiency last year was 22%. If you look at our predicted at winter was 24.27%, and then you follow it to what our actual data was, we came up in math also based on our winter data. So for us, it's really helpful to have that internal temperature thermometer check, because then that can lead to action going into the spring as well. So that is the prediction piece that we use. And then if you come back to the agenda, I have just some notes on some additional information related to our spring Fast Bridge testing. ELA students in grades 2 through 8. Overall district was 47.43. That was a 1.72% increase from our spring benchmark from last year. Early reading, which is made up of kindergarten and first grade, we saw a district average of 54.5%. That was a 3% decrease from last spring. So this is something that we are doing some work on as a district. Why did we see a decrease in kindergarten and first grade in our reading? We were in an implementation year. We have lost some of our longevity with teacher experience in kindergarten and first grade. We do have some non-certified teachers in those grade levels. We've taken both some of our quantitative data, such as teacher experience, and we also look at qualitative. What are our kindergarten and first grade teachers saying to us? Well, we know that we lost some of our COVID relief dollars, which meant that we had less interventionists on campus this year. We also qualitatively, talking to our kindergarten and first grade teachers, we are seeing an increased need in the students that are coming into us behaviorally, social emotionally, and we are also seeing in some cases some larger class sizes as well. So what can we do internally? Because again, there are things that are out of our control, budgets, things like that. The money comes into us. We have to take the budget that we have, but how can we continue to support? We actually made an adjustment mid-year with kindergarten and first grade in ELA that we will start from the beginning of the year next year as well. But I want you to know that is something that we are watching closely. When we look at the reading fluency, which is grades 1 through 3, we saw a 2% decrease there as well. I also believe that that was slightly due to the implementation of a new reading program. It takes teachers a while to become familiar, to receive that training, for it to become familiar with them, with their routines as well. As we move into math, district overall from spring 24 to spring 25, 46.14% of students were low or no risk. That was a 3.14% increase from last spring. And then math for kindergarten and first grade, 60%. That was a notable decrease of 12.5%. Last year in 23-24, we had math interventionists that were funded through COVID. This year we did not have those in place. So again, we cannot say that's our excuse. It's what will we do next year to make those changes and support that process. Principals have been working with me into the summer on making adjustments to their schedules, articulating out the expectations for math. We have kindergarten and first grade teachers coming in next week to update assessments, curriculum maps, look at where the gaps were so that we can make adjustments to ensure that we bring that percentage back up. And then summary of observations. I will not read all of these, but they are available there for you. And then this leads into, I know that Superintendent Vaca has been updating you in the last couple of weeks with regard to early release. And so we said that we would come back to this conversation once we had some of that quantitative data available. We reviewed the qualitative data from teachers at the May governing board meeting, and then we said we would come back to it. So at this point, quantitatively, we are seeing that the earlier release time did impact an increase in proficiency for ELA and math. especially given an implementation year. Project Momentum was new to us as well. That was a benefit. We had many competing initiatives, new ELA curriculum, updated math and focus as well, Project Momentum. And so there was obviously a benefit related to student achievement increases. Superintendent Vaca has updated you all that after we met with transportation and principals, our request to you is that we meet in the middle going into next year because we will not have as many new initiatives. We were at an 1.5 hour early release initially. We moved to 2.5 hours based on feedback from staff, transportation. We ask that we be able to keep it at 2 hours next year because we won't have as many new initiatives. Superintendent Vaca, do you want to add anything else to PLC's early release Wednesday schedules?
I think that that second semester was so valuable for us to get down and dirty in getting to know that new curricular piece. We began to shake out towards the end of the year and come up with a, I would say, good, steady idea of what our PLCs should look like. We did absolutely, I think, take some pressure off of teachers as far as, okay, I was able to get in, look at these units for CKLA, look at the updates for math and focus, and that extra 30 minutes was very valuable for that purpose alone right there. Some of the feedback from the PLC was like, yeah, it's kind of a bit too long for us. We're starting to come into a groove and we're beginning to feel like we can do this. We talked to principals. We have already laid out agendas, what those look like. We're standardizing kind of what between schools, what that would look like. And the beautiful thing is that all of our site administration really came together and came up with a great plan. And so moving forward, we figured if we shaved some time off of that and allow students to be in school a little longer, but we needed a longer PLC time, that would be a good compromise and meet in the middle. So when we started the school year almost a year ago, our PLCs were only 1 hour and 30 minutes. It just was not enough time. When we were able to go into 2.5 hours essentially, and 2 hours and 15 minutes in some places, it gave us the time we needed to get a good grasp on, we had Illuminate DNA that was new, we had the new CKLA program, and we had new math and focus. Everyone that we have spoken to feels like if we go to a 2-hour PLC time, that allows us to continue to look at our curriculum maps and really get into the curricular program. And many of the grade levels know exactly where they're going into next year. The beautiful thing about the summertime and that Project Momentum money is we are having teachers from across the district come in and look at the curriculum maps. We're having district leaders begin to plug everything in and build those maps with Jamie, which will really lessen the load going into the next year. So we feel like that 2-hour piece gives us that nice block of time where we can get some work done and not just have a discussion, but that we wouldn't need that extra 30 minutes going into this new school year, that we have some processes and some protocols in place and principals know exactly where they want to go, and our agendas and everything are going to look the same across the board. Another great thing I think that came out of that was people were craving more district PLCs, and we haven't had that in a long time. But teachers were like, hey, we want to get together more. And so I believe now we have 7 or 8 instead of 4. I think we have 8.
2 per quarter.
2 per quarter, and that seems like a great balance. So what we felt we learned is where we needed work, and Jamie's been excellent about having groups come in this summer, and also where that balance was between the two and how we could mitigate that. Another exciting thing that we did this year going into the summer that Jamie really amped up and we're ready going into the fall was meeting with site leadership teams and going over our FastBridge data, but also the raw data from AASA. So Mary was there one day for that. They really dug deep into that process, and they have goals moving forward. It felt very organic, and there was a great discussion. And everyone's like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to start the year.
And
To
what
where
I
we
got-
didn't
and
feel
what I
that.
got out of that is they were given the teachers were given the information.
Right.
Which they appreciated, which they could work on. I mean, they weren't going in blind. So-
And the beautiful thing with Project Momentum, even though that funding has dried up, the beautiful thing about it is it gave us a structure and a protocol on how we go about planning and prepping, which is something we needed with that new curriculum. And it also gave us some practices that were very valuable. Not only did the teachers and administrators learn a lot, I think that Jamie and I learned a lot.
We have learned so much from Project
Right.
Momentum. It will carry us 10 years into the future.
Yes, and so we've made connections with people in other districts. Some valuable relationships were built, and I feel we're ready for this year. We're ready to start again. It's like that momentum will continue to build that.
I have a question. When you said that the staff was wanting more PLCs, was it the newer teachers, or was it just across the board?
I believe that was a bit across the board. So
It-
that came from
it is.
Superintendent Advisory, I believe.
It is sometimes, and you see both sides of it. Sometimes you'll hear that a little bit from Oak Creek, where they may only have one teacher per grade level. Or you might hear that from a teacher who is content-only math in 7th grade, and they want to talk to other 7th grade math teachers, whereas DDB, CCS, they have multiple team members sometimes, and so then in that case, they're okay with staying on their campus because they have collaboration. So it depends on the teams, the dynamics, but I think we found, and also I would like to thank you, Mrs. Rollins, as well, because you brought that up earlier this year. You know, we'd like to see as many district-wide consistent PLCs.
Yes.
And when we realigned into K-8s, we pulled back from that so that campuses could have more time to establish themselves as a K-8. And this was a perfect year. We included some additional PLCs into second semester. It was well received. And then as we go into next year, we will have additional district-wide PLCs. And then again, the PLCs that are happening on campus, principals are planning together as a district-wide team, and they are all going through the same format on their campus PLC. So there's a lot of consistency, and there's a nice balance now of taking care of the campus needs versus creating consistency across the district.
So also, if you go from 2.5 hours to 2, that gives the kids another half hour of
Academic
instruction,
time.
right?
That is correct. And that was part of the feedback from some of our teachers as
Right.
well, was there was an appreciation for the governing board for that extended time, but also some people were concerned until they saw scores, would this potentially impact student achievement?
That went through my mind also as
Right.
we were discussing that.
Mhm.
Okay, we're taking another half an hour away from instruction time, and it was a concern.
Sure.
That we might see a little throwback, or
Yep.
that's not the word I want, but anyhow.
A slide, maybe.
Yeah, that would, in the long run, harm.
And thankfully, we didn't see that according to state testing, grades 3 through 8, but at the same time, we are now a year ahead with CKLA, DNA, Math and Focus, and so having this 2-hour time period, I think it will be highly structured, highly effective, and will also then balance the needs of instruction time in the classroom as well.
So that will be kept a close eye on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And you're gonna start the school that way so the parents know what the schedule is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have
consistent.
adjusted times. We've even had Daniel and Kat from the bus barn come and look at those times, and so we've collected the feedback from them. They were very comfortable with those release times. You know, another thing, I'm so incredibly grateful for the leadership that we had through Project Momentum with our district coach and our principal coaches. Big thing is everyone's on the same page, and now all of our conversations, we're using the same language and the same verbiage, and it is relevant to everybody because it's a structure, right? And it's been, I think it's helped unite us a little bit more and make us a little bit more collaborative in how we're going to start the year. There are people that feel, you know, strongly about certain things and others about other things, but really, regardless, that doesn't matter because we're all on the same page, and we may feel differently about things, but we have a new system that helps us evaluate our curriculum with Illuminate DNA. And so it's kind of that piece I feel like we were always juggling a little bit.
True.
And maybe you can come back in December.
Absolutely.
And tell us how it's
Yes,
going. Because that'll give you half a year
Yes.
to see how it's working.
There's got to be flexibility in anything that
Right.
is new
Yes.
and that you're undertaking. So that probably needs to be emphasized
Right.
as much, I mean,
Absolutely.
subtly and,
Right.
yeah.
Yep, we always kind of adjust with the students that we have. Some classes come in lower or higher than other classes, as we know, you know, children learn differently and bloom differently and not just are different. So, you know, that'll never change, but the process in which we dig into that curriculum and the data that we look at and then use that information to plan for the students that we have allows that flexibility. So it's exciting.
Okay.
Excuse me,
All
before we
right.
move to the next item, Mrs. Olinsky was dropped again.
Okay. While we're doing that, I'm going to go down. Are we going to skip Matt because he's not here? Or do you
I
want?
think between Tammy and I, we can do this.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let
All right,
Tammy
I was gonna
start. I've
ask
done
if
a
you
lot of
ladies wanted
talking.
to do
Well,
that.
actually, I wouldn't mind a break from all the septic tank problems.
Hey, they're getting fixed.
Well, that's why, they better be. We're
Yeah.
in trouble with
So we can definitely have Tammy cover it during her update. Right now, as we speak, he's walking with the school facilities.
So when it's her turn,
people.
you'll just tell us what's happening. Okay. So we'll skip that part. And then we'll go to this discussion and possible approval of the proposed budget for 2025-26, and we'll wait till 5:01. Because Tammy's going to include hers in that.
Okay. What was the number, Jack?
5:01.
Hi, Ruth Ellen, are you there?
6-0.
6-0. I don't
Okay.
know.
No worries. We're getting ready to go into the budget.
The budget now. Okay. 5:01. Okay, Tam.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you some highlights on what the state approved for the budget and kind of what we did in this proposed budget, and I'm going to ask that you adopt the budget after this. There was a 2% increase in the funding formula, and it brought that to $5,113.26. That was included in this proposed budget. So it wasn't on the budget forms, but I did increase that, so that number is true. That number will not change.
Okay.
The basic state aid, one-time additional assistance supplement, that was not included. That was about $400,000 for us for the last 2 years. We split that between maintenance and operation and capital. So that will be something that comes back into the budget in the first revision. Those funds for that kind of go with what Matt's doing on the fencing projects. That funds the fencing projects. The one is done at CCS, that is by Annie's. And I think he's starting at DDB. That's done.
today. That one's done.
Okay, that one's done as well. So, and then
See
window
that
tinting.
beautiful wrought iron. It's nice.
Is it? I haven't seen it yet.
It is.
We're gonna finish the window tinting at CCS. That project's gonna come in just over 10,000. And this additional money is what we're using each year. Matt's coming and saying, how much can I spend on this? And this is all part of our safety project. Our doors at DDB in the hallways, those are gonna be done out of this money. That project is, I believe, starting next week.
Yes, for the month of July, and that's those big hallway doors that cut the front lobby off from the other 3 hallways.
And that is a big safety concern, so it feels good to get that done. And then also, all summer, they've been doing locks, and I believe Oak Creek is done. And I think, are they at CCS now? Did Matt say?
So he didn't say, but it kind of coincides. I know that Ray has worked very hard on the course, and he's been training Mike. What is Mike's last name? Curtis. Thank you, Eric. Mike Curtis. I always say Mike, and I see him. I'm like, I want to say Mike with the beard. And he's now working on getting those cores in the doors. And so I believe we'll have all of Oak Creek and CCS by the end of the summer. Correct? Okay.
With the M&O piece of that, and some of the free and reduced, we have been able to take less from our district additional assistance. The auditor has always kind of put that as a high on our list because we're at like 35%. This year we are under that 35%, even on the proposed budget. So when we revise, if we can even reduce that more, we will. We're also looking at money for salaries and benefits, being able to notify staff of what their raises were this year before they receive their contracts, and to know coming into this school year what that was, I think is something that we all like to see happen every year. So out of carryover, out of these one-time monies, we can make those decisions in December. Also, longevity. Longevity each year is always, where's that money coming from? So this additional money that they're giving us for the free and reduced and the DAA also funds our longevity. So those will be something you will see on a revised budget. They are not in this budget. The classroom site fund, it did go up $50. That is in this proposed budget. I don't expect to see that change. That came out to about $82,500 for us. And knowing that ahead of time, we were able to increase how much teachers will receive in their classroom site fund for this coming school year. I think that was all I had for budget. The aggregate expenditure limit's been waived for 2 years, so that's nice. We don't have to look at that. And
Tammy,
uh-huh.
With the budget being, the governor signed everything yesterday, how is that going to impact or really?
So what it'll do is the Auditor General's already sent out new budget forms, but we had to have a budget passed by the proposed budget done by the 5th, and we just used the forms that they sent out that don't have all the updates. So we have until September 15th to do a revised budget, and at that point we will come in and bring all the stuff that we didn't know into the revised.
I think all we really know about that, and thank goodness it went through, was that we're not looking at any cuts.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
And our tax rates are very similar to what they were last year.
Okay. So that's a relief. And did you want us to go on to Matt's update, or did you want them to vote? Okay.
Yeah, we actually have to adopt the budget.
Okay. Since this is a possible approval of this proposed budget, do I have a motion to approve this budget for 25-26?
I make a motion that we approve the budget for 25-26.
Do I have a second?
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. right, so we're through with you, right, Tammy? Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Uh-huh, I voted.
We pretty much covered what Matt was gonna talk about with the
Okay.
fencing projects. I don't know what he had for the quote to reroute the sewer line, so we'll probably just put that on the next one. Septic tank updates, I do know that they have received from the architect
Mm-hmm. They have.
what it's gonna look like, and SF,
Engineer, yeah.
the engineer, yes.
For the septic and the drainage. So we have that, yes.
You know, I hate to bring this up, but maybe now that he's looked at that septic system, we might have to look at our other school septic system.
Let's knock on wood.
Well,
He
CCS,
will,
I don't think it affects CCS because
So-
they're on city sewer, right?
So the CCS one and that one he had on here was, that's the sewer line there. He's looking at getting a quote, for that one is the way there's the sewer and then there's a septic. And I can't recall why the septic we're not all sewer, but the line goes from here and then backtracks to the actual city sewer line and then goes out.
Because the city didn't have a sewer at the time.
Right. So he's looking at, instead of it kind of zigzagging, he's looking at it going from our septic straight across to the sewer line.
Okay.
And he says because of the zigzag, it gets clogged frequently and they're constantly pumping that tank and, clearing that line.
That would be
So,
common sense.
right.
They-
Yep.
Seems to me like in the beginning, they would have caught on to that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. There's a lot of things we're like wondering about. It's
No
just, I
common
guess we'll
sense.
never know. I guess we'll never know.
What
Because
they were thinking.
those people aren't here any longer, but
Hung over or something.
gosh, yeah. And how long ago was that? It was at least
Oh, it's been a.
2 decades maybe.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Yeah,
Well, when we got the sewer system, it was a big thing.
I know.
right. And I know that they were just backfilling the pipeline project in front of the preschool here today. And that's looking like they have the main valve on that line that will cut off CES from the other two. So now he's on the valve project. And there's 28 valves in DDB. In the next couple weeks, that will be, which none of them work, but they will work in 2 weeks about. So he's looking at valves right now. So he's getting into that project.
School starts the 4th.
The 31st of July.
31st.
I know.
Yes.
It's
I just will not let them.
So let me ask you this now,
People
Jess.
here.
Does Matt, because it's at every school, does he have it in his office too, where all the valves and where everything are at every school?
so it's interesting because our newest school is Mountain View Prep.
Uh-huh.
And then you have DDB after that. And there is not a whole lot of, we think maybe, this is a conclusion he came up with, that maybe they didn't have as many city, what do you, like?
Codes?
Codes, thank you. I wanted to say citations, and that's not correct.
Codes.
As many city codes back then, and so we don't see a whole lot of that sort of thing on plans. So with Ray's institutional knowledge and memory and what they've done in the past, he's figuring it out, and he figures things out pretty quickly. And if he doesn't know, he's bringing someone in to kind of survey and figure it out for him. So the valves, I know it's a big thing at DDB right now, and it's a big thing here at the district. I'm not sure, and Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not certain that is necessary at the other sites. I haven't heard that yet.
I haven't heard it yet either. Fed off the well, I think the valves are working because we haven't had any issues.
Right,
I think
right.
These buildings are older.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, it has to have one plan where he knows where everything's at
Oh,
every
yes,
school.
yes. He's beginning to collect that
Yeah.
information and store it, and yes.
MVP is in the county and
Mm-hmm.
DDB is in the city.
It's reverse.
It's county.
So
DDB's
DDB
county.
In the county.
and then MVP is in the city.
And
I
then-
know. It's
Yeah.
It is wonky. I don't get that either.
One's in the county.
Yeah, 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 yes,
Right,
yes.
so
Yep.
how are those, is that going to be an issue with taking care of the codes in terms of how you deal with things?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah.
I can speak a little bit too.
Oh, there you go. Let's ask Jack.
So both the county and the city are currently in the process of updating their codes, and so the city is adopting like a lot of the 2008 or 2018 codes. The county is at least 2018. Some of them are going to go 2024 codes. And the reason you wouldn't do it both is the rate jumps. So the city, we were on like the 2004 code, and so we're trying to catch up. But if we were to jump from the really late code to today's code, the cost for fees is crazy. And so, but both of them are updating their codes, and so they're going to be really similar in most senses. The fees are typically the difference.
Okay.
And then really, I think the only other thing up there is the key inventory progress that we haven't, that we've been working on. We have inventoried every key in
I
the
saw that.
district.
I was glad.
So what we have with the key thing is where we're at now. They have a down in the building. They have a key room now that has a board that has hooks where you can find all the extra keys from all the schools. So there were multiple keys for multiple rooms. There were multiple small master keys. And at one point, we're just kind of like, people may have just asked for a key and it was made. And so what has happened now is each school has 2 sets of keys that they may need for one classroom. So if I'm at CCS room 104, I'm going to have the teacher's set of keys, which would be the room key, the gate key, and probably a lounge key or something. But then they'll have a second set of those keys there if there's a substitute that comes in or someone doing work in that room or something like that. They'll have those keys. Any extra keys will be down in the key room. So the schools will only have the keys that they need to start up. And he said it will be a work in progress because we'll figure out where we need to go as that goes on. But he's looking at holding that information and holding those keys for security purposes not on the site level. So they're working on getting that keyboard up and going. And they're almost done with that project. When that project's completed, they'll get into where they'll go back into each and every school and re-inventory what they have there to make sure it matches what we have on the paper. So kind of going back through and looking at that again. So we also worked on, Tricia Winters has an electronic key form that she made. So it's in like a Google Sheets. Yeah, Google Sheets. It's and they'll input the information when they check the keys out in Google Sheets. It'll go to a spreadsheet that Matt will have, and Matt will know where every key is in the school district. And so remember, this came from when we had the state safety auditors come on campus, and they, first it was the safety plans, which we weren't in that audit, but we were in the second audit for was it facilities, and they asked about the keys. So that's where this was born out of, and he's made good progress with that. We also found that, we're only going to have so many small masters at each site. We're not going to hold all the small masters there. Those will also be in the district key room. So it's just finding that process of checking in and checking out. And make sure it works for everybody involved. And he did say on a side note, though, that because there is nobody on campus, our cleaning custodial crews are ahead of where they usually would be at this time of year. So they're very confident that they've clean the school, the carpets, all of it. And so they're like, we're ahead right now, and it's because people haven't been in and out of the buildings. So it's aided them actually on getting their work done. So Matt's like, something to think about going into
in the
next
future,
summer, right?
To pull their keys so they can
Right.
clean and then
Yes.
let them go.
Yes, yep.
Or
And it's
not.
really just the end of May to the beginning of July.
Yeah.
So it's just really the month of June and into the first week of July where people wouldn't be in the building. But it's really helped them with their projects tremendously.
Great. Okay. So now all the rest are, except now we're going to 603, Jack.
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. So really, I just wanted to pull this item for the stipends because there's a small discrepancy in one of them. And so I just wanted to make sure that we can address that and make an amendment to get those approved so it doesn't hold anything up. So if you're okay with it, I'd make a motion.
Okay.
Okay,
You-
so
you-
I move to approve the first stipend as provided, and then the second stipend with the amendment showing the actual value of $2,000 rather than the $4,450 that was on here. So again, just approving it at the actual value of $2,000.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, I don't understand this.
What happened is there was a typo that she made $4,000, but it was really $2,000. On Lindsay Ludd, on the.
On the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
On the second one.
Okay. Oh,
We put the actual value, but
okay.
Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, so do I have a motion to approve, the vouchers?
We can't hear her.
I can't,
Say what?
Is it a typo?
Is it a clerical error?
yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
I gotcha. Okay, so instead of the 4,000, it's 2,000.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am?
I didn't see that second page. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't read that, so.
Hmm.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve, with the new amounts, the stipends?
I will move that we approve the new amount of 2,000 from 4,000 for Miss Lindsay Luden,
Ludden,
Ludden,
can't say the name, for the second stipend.
the second stipend, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Who did?
So I'll second it. if
Okay.
she
I was
wants
gonna say,
to
I
go
don't think
first.
so.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
Okay,
Where are we now?
now we're on 801. Do we have any board reports?
I noticed that on this list here, starting with teachers return July 28th, that the governing board's ASBA conference is not on here, or am I overlooking it?
Oh, we no longer belong to ASBA.
Not ASBA, NSBA, I'm sorry.
No, we know, no, but we've already approved for the convention, right?
Yeah, we've approved it.
Yeah, but it's usually always on a list.
Okay, I'll make sure that.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
I'm just be sure
so we know
we
when we're
didn't drop
going.
it
Yeah.
somewhere, okay. That's all I had.
Okay, anything else? No?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth Ellen. All right. Okay, now we're gonna call for items for the next month's meeting. Mrs. Vodka, do you have anything that you want to discuss? Or Jamie, how about you?
Well, school will be in session.
Well, you know what? We don't, you really don't, if you don't, we don't need to.
School was just
Because
starting.
school is
It's
just starting.
Yeah.
School, and it's just gonna be so much stuff.
What, 5 days?
Yeah,
Yeah, and we also talked about not having a another
study session.
study session because
We don't need it.
And so what we were going to do in September for up and coming was to have it based off our safety, what we've done with safety, and then facilities, tie facilities into that.
You know what
as
I
well.
would, I might like for the next meeting is just maybe you can have a list of names of the new hires.
Oh, yes, we can do that.
That would be nice.
In grade level or the position?
School.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for, during the board meeting? We talked about, Daniel coming and updating on transportation in August, if
Okay.
you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then,
And it doesn't have to be that long, but.
Right.
Yeah, okay. But it's always nice to know who the new hires are.
yes,
too.
and the new hires, yes.
Well, they are introduced at our opening meeting.
I know, but it's still nice to recognize, thank them. Or if they want to introduce their whole staff, maybe we can have the principals introduce their staff. Or
Mhm.
just tell us who their staff are. And I know
Yeah.
they're going to do it at the other meetings too, but that's just so informal. This is just really kind of, I would like to see that,
Okay,
since we don't have very much. Okay,
so they can kind of give you an update on their new staff.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, and then I guess we're going to adjourn this meeting and go into executive. We're not going to adjourn it. We're going into executive session now. So we're going to take a little break. Ruth Ellen, we're going to take a little break. And then we're going to go into executive session to go over the superintendent's goals.